Good afternoon. I'm your host Amlan Srivastav, and I welcome you all to Alumni Connect. Most of us at one point in the future will manage, strategize, or develop a product. Today in Alumni Connect, we'll be talking about how companies architect, plan, and execute a product and control its lifecycle. And who better to tell us about this than someone who's been exactly where we are right now? I would like to welcome Mr. Akshat Gupta, a CodeChef-VIT alumni who's an expert in startup management, product lifecycle management, and project management. Akshay started his journey as a developer and currently leads the engineering, design, and product teams for Legal Force trademark here. Without further ado, let's get started with the event. Over to you, Akshat.
Thanks, Amlan. Hi, everyone. My name's Akshat, as Amlan already stated. I'll just give you a quick introduction of myself. I'm from Chennai in India, and I'm currently working as a project manager in Legal Force Trademark here. So, if some of you are from VIT, you would also have seen us coming for recruitments for development roles as well as other roles. I am currently leading the Chennai engineering team, which consists of engineers, which is developers, be it front end, back end, app. We have product designers, we have marketing, we have HR, accounts, everything. I lead a team of around 50 people here. And when we started, we grew from a small team to a much larger team now. We have our legal offices in Nagpur, which consists of another 50 people. We are headquartered in Mountain View, California. Together, we're building this legal tech solution which helps you deal with intellectual property online. But my journey wasn't always all about project management. I started my career as a software developer right in VIT. Since I also studied in VIT, I interned in a lot of places for the internship credits. I did my semester before the final year for the internship again for 2 more credits. And I had been interning in different incubated startups inside VIT as well as outside. Most of those roles were different domains of tech. I started as a front end web developer. I then decided to explore backend. I explored cloud computing. I realized my interest did not lie in either of those. Then I thought of trying app. That was really interesting because as a developer, I worked on React, and React and Flutter seemed very similar. So I was comfortable with that. But in the end, I decided front end web is something I really liked, and I continued doing that. Over time, I worked in different places. I worked as a devrel, a developer evangelist in Agora, which is a video communications SDK company. So we give you an SDK on which you can build your platform. So you would have heard about Clubhouse, Airmeet. All of those platforms are made on Agora, and I worked on the front end team for them, where we made the React UI kit. Again, that was one of the first few times I actually got into project management, because when I was in Agora, a developer evangelist usually helps people understand how to implement the product. So that does not mean you'll only be working on the core product. You will also be showing people how to use it. You'll take webinars, you'll write blogs, you'll help people solve doubts and bugs. Slowly I understood how to lay the product roadmap. And over time, I was also interning at Josh Talks, which is, I would say, kind of like how TED Talk works, but in India, and it helps Indians come out and share their stories. So I helped build their platforms. Over there, I that was the first time I actually had a project management role, because they saw my dev job and they needed more developers to complete the product. A single person cannot do the whole product. You need someone from backend, you need someone from design, you need someone from app, etc., depending on the use of the app. So that was the first time I actually got to work with multiple people. I helped them plan timelines, I helped them understand what they can achieve within a particular time frame and what deliverables they should think of first before prioritizing something else. I led a team of just 5 people, which included juniors from just one year below me, and some people from the same year as me. We did that internship for quite a while, and I actually learned a lot from the product and project managers there. Over time, I was lucky enough to help land a job as a project manager in Trademark. Yeah, uh, because they were impressed that I had some experience with development, a little bit of marketing. Of course, when you work in clubs, which I'm sure a lot of you already must be looking forward to, you have to market your, even this event, you have to market it. You have any events coming up, hackathons coming up, you have to market it. So you learn a little bit of social media, a little bit of Google ads here and there. I did a few more courses online, and I decided to stick with project management, which is what I actually like. So, in my tenure working as a project manager, I got to work with a lot of product managers as well. So, I will, in this session, I'll help you understand what is the difference between product and project management. And I'll help you make a more informed decision in case you're not sure what you want to do if you do not want to do a tech job. Ideally, whenever you want a role in project or product management, you are expected to have at least 3 years of experience in a technical domain, because how can you lead someone if you don't even know how to do something? So you need to be at least good at something. You need to know the basic tech. You don't need to be a good coder. You need to understand tech. You need to understand what is needed. If you're making a website, for example, you need to know that you're going to use this tech stack. You're going to use um, this services for deployment. You're going to be budgeting stuff, etc. And that only comes with experience. So once you have this base experience of 2 to 3 years, that's when you can actually look at roles in product or project management. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Amlan, can you please add it to the? Yep, perfect, thank you. So I'll just walk you through what product management is and what project management is and what the differences are. And you can ask me any doubts. You can put them on the chat. You can we'll display them, we'll answer your questions, and hopefully you will be able to make a more informed decision. So coming to product management, a product manager is a person who identifies what the customer needs. You help shape the product. You don't actually do any of the coding. You don't implement anything yourself. You don't even have to necessarily talk to the developers directly. I mean, of course it's better because that's how you understand the timelines. You'll be able to you'll be able to set stuff which are achievable. But as such, a product manager uh, helps shape the product by thinking of the business objectives, does market research, and understands what competitors are doing, and what products or services your clients actually need. For example, since I'm working in a legal tech firm, I need to see what other legal tech firms are doing, and what services they offer, what is their price point, how can my product be better than their product. If a product was released before my product, how can I make my product better and more usable? And I talk to product designers, help make the UX clean as well. I try to understand why every single thing is there in a particular place. For example, if your navbar, I mean, you would have noticed most of the websites on smaller screens, they put their hamburger menu on the top right instead of the top left. It's a small usability thing. Because most people are right-handed, it's simpler and more easier for them to click on the right than on the left. Because if you want to click on the left, your hands would have to move all the way here. But if you're holding your phone like this, you can just click on the top right. So you need to understand why things are put in particular places and which things are actually used. So that's what a product manager does. And a product manager is the person who just does the high level thinking but does not do the execution. The execution part comes to the project manager. So a product manager would be more like a movie director. He doesn't actually hold the camera, he doesn't record anything, he doesn't create the special effects. There are special talented professionals for these. What the product manager does is he directs it, ideates it, thinks about what has to be done, how it has to be done. Someone else actually does it. So I that's just like a overview of what a product manager does. Coming to project management, this is more specific and towards execution. So project managers use their skills to to actually deliver something of value to people. This is not ideation, this is actual execution. So after the product manager thinks of something, the development of that, the construction of a building, because project managers does not have to be just something related to tech. Every single domain has its own project managers, be it construction, be it um, civil engineering. Everyone has a project manager for a particular thing. So since most of you are going to be working in IT firms in the future, I'll try to keep it more specific towards IT firms. So usually what happens in big companies, each there are a bunch of project managers and product managers. Product managers are of different hierarchies. You have associate project product managers, which are of the lowest level, which are entry level. Then come product managers itself, which are a little higher, maybe more experienced. Then come senior product managers, and soon you get promoted into being the chief product officer, the CPO. And for project management, it's when you come to tech, it's going to be associate, technical project manager, senior technical project manager. You have 1, 2, 3 levels, just like SD 1, 2, 3, and you have engineering project managers. So what happens is, in a big company, the senior product managers would assign task. So say you have Swiggy, there's a genie feature, there's a order feature, there's a way to actually see restaurants you can actually go out to. You have all those different features. All of those have a separate product manager who ideates something to make those features better. And when you want to actually execute that, you give that to the senior project manager, who would assign it to lower project managers feature by feature. And each of those features would have separate devs working on those. So the ideation of the feature, maybe now I want to auto apply a discount so that more people order stuff because they see that we are giving them a discount. Even if the price is more, adding the discount factor motivates users to actually purchase something with you. So all that has to be thought of by the product manager. And in my experience, so when we also come up with a product, we suppose our firm deals with intellectual property, right? So that means trademarks, copyrights, patents, all of that, which helps you justify your ownership of either a piece of art or maybe a name, logo, etc. So whenever we come up with a new product, a product manager helps us decide the flow right from the scratch. So the product manager would help us ideate on how we would first start working on it. They make a product definition documents which say exactly what is needed in the document, in the product. For example, I want a nav bar over here which has this. I need these features, and these are the different stakeholders who will use the product. For example, you're going to have maybe small businesses using it, you're going to have people who have new business ideas using it, etc. So those are the different stakeholders they have to decide, based on which they come up with new features. Maybe your product is going to service poor people who have low income. So when someone has to service that, they need to think of features which they will understand. Maybe like one particular use case I found out in my work in Joe Stocks, not a lot of people in India know English. So you need to serve them in their regional languages. So the product manager there thought of making everything more localized in those specific languages, be it Hindi, Telugu, be it any particular specific language for that region. They helped service the design the product for those, and that was implemented by the developers. And again, the project manager does not have to code either. They track deadlines, they track everything. They help set a budget for the whole project and give it to the product manager. The budget would include multiple things. It includes developer salaries, it includes server costs, it includes um, buffer time. You have to think of a lot of things, which I'll come to in a while. um, so so the product actually is executed and becomes a real existing product from an idea. So it's more execution based. So I'll explain the difference in case it is still vague to you. So a product manager would think of the would validate the idea whether it is even feasible or not. If your ROI is not enough, if your return on investment is not enough, you're investing more on developers, you're not going to earn enough money through the idea. In that case, the idea would be invalidated. So they think if it is feasible or profitable or not. Then they set a vision and they plan how long it will take, what is the ideal timeline. Maybe you want a first mover advantage for a new product. You set a timeline accordingly, but it still has to be realistic based on what your project manager says and what the developers say. You need to see that the features in your product are special and unique, so that other people, um, for example, Uber and Ola both exist, but both need to have something different. You see that Uber started coming up with deliveries, then they came up with bikes. You have to keep coming up with something new. So you do a market analysis, you understand what customers need, and you add it there. Then the roadmap of what features have to be added in the future. You have to think ahead. So if you're a thinker and you like strategizing, product management may be something that you like. When you're a project manager, it is more specific. You have to break stuff down. A product manager would have given you a high level thing. I want a Rapido like biking service in Uber. A project manager, and he'll also tell you like exactly what are the stakeholders, etc. But a product project manager would help budget it, organize a team, gather a team with the help of an HR, manage tasks, and break it down in a way which developers also understand, designers also understand. Because if you tell a developer, I want to build this service, they'll be clueless. You need to give them the designs that they need. You need to tell them that I need I need you to say make an API which fetches these details of a user, and based on that does something. It needs to be very specific. And once you assign the task, you need to track their progress. You need to see that they're working on time. And when you give timelines, you need to see. Suppose Christmas is coming, developers will be on holiday. New Year is coming, they'll be on holiday. Plus you need to account for some sick leaves in between. You need to see how many what's the most optimized approach to implement something. That's where the technical knowledge comes in, right? I told you, you don't need to know exactly how to code, but you need to know what the stack is. You need to know what is needed, what is not. And in case something goes wrong, you need to have backups. So all that would be something the project manager would take off. Both together work for a proper team to be made, the idea to be actually implemented. You ask customers to test it out. It's not necessary that you make the complete product and test it out. So maybe the project manager helps work with the designers, make something and give it to the product manager, who gets customer feedback. Anything that needs analysis needs some data, right? And for that, the only way is for a product manager to actually talk to people, get surveys, and then make those decisions. Sorry. So yeah, they work together for that. uh, this is just an overview of what product and project management are. Now I'm leaving the floor open. If you have any questions, you can put them up. Amlan, if you have any questions put up, you can ask me and I'll try helping them.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Akshat, for sharing with us your journey, and that was really insightful. And thanks for clearing out the difference between a product and a project manager. So, a question we have is: Can you tell us what skills one would require to become a product or a project manager?
So honestly, to become a product or project manager, the skills are completely different. To be a product manager, you need to be someone who can think, who can research, who can strategize. You need to do a proper competitive research. Anything you miss out is an opportunity your company misses. In case a competitor was doing something, you need to know what they're up to and think of a better way to do it, or you need to think of something else which is better than what they're doing to retain your customers. Because whenever you have a similar competitor, there's a high chance they get your customers if your product does not work well enough. So if you're good at research, product management may be something that works for you. If you're good at tracking progress, if you're good at planning ahead, if you're good at tech, if you're good at maybe actual execution of stuff rather than strategizing. Maybe you don't like thinking, maybe you like doing. In that case, you can do project management. So that's like a base of what you would need.
Okay, so following up to that, you know how you said that both require two different skill sets. So is it possible for one person to wear both hats of a project manager and a manager?
Of course, like nothing is impossible, but that's a very subjective thing. If someone is actually good at thinking as well as doing, they may be able to pull both off. But it's always better to try to master one thing and then move to the next. Otherwise, you try to become a master of everything, but you're the master of none. So, of course, there are people, but they usually, at least from what I've seen, they're very senior people who have tried everything and then they started doing both. And even then, in the end, they have to choose one thing which is their forte. They can do both, but they're definitely going to put in more time for one of the two things. It all depends on what you like doing.
Okay, thank you so much. So could you tell us if there are any specific degrees or qualifications you need to become a project or a project manager?
Okay, so for product management, product managers usually have a degree in either technical fields like engineering, computer science, and they also have an MBA or a complementary certification for product management. You can also, I mean, if you don't want a technical field, or if you did not have the opportunity to have a technical field in your UG, you can also still target product management through non-tech areas by networking with people. Like you can talk to different product managers, understand what they are doing, and do certifications. Build up
Right.
a lot of certificates. You even though say Coursera, Udemy courses may not be the best certifications you have, you learn a lot from those. And
Right.
once you learn and you're able to showcase that to any employer, that builds onto your resume and then the experience counts. I know a lot of people who did not even go to engineering colleges, but they just did these certifications, worked in one company for some time, maybe say 2 years. They built their portfolio, they built a good network, and they got another role through that. And it keeps going on that way. That's the same for development, that's the same for everything. But that is something that one of my friends did. And for project management as well, like you have PMI, there's something called the Project Management Institute. They give a lot of certifications, but there are restrictions, like you need to have worked for at least 3 years beforehand. This is a compulsion. Like to become a project manager, you need 3 years of dev experience, then you need to have worked for 3 years as a project manager. Only then you're eligible to give these PMI certifications. So you can do these certifications, but by then you already would also already have had experience. Once you have the experience, you'll get a really good role. But it all takes time and it is all a very gradual process. But you can do these certifications to become stronger on a CV or paper.
Thank you so much. Okay, so could you tell us about the job openings or the scope of product managers in India? And also, do we need more product managers in India?
Of course. So I mean, I know recession is there and all that, but there are still new startups coming up. And each
Right,
startup would also need someone to strategize and help them shape the journey of the product. Otherwise, no one's going to use it. You need Product management is not just about planning what's going to happen later. Even when it is ready, now you have to think about how people are going to start using it. Maybe you have to start drafting email campaigns. You have to ask your team to do A or B testing for your product, be it app, be it websites. And we have to keep trying new things so that we understand what's going to work out or what's not. If you don't plan ahead, if you don't plan during, if you don't plan after, no one's going to use your product. Even if your tech team is wonderful, you end up with a product which no one uses.
right.
So everyone, be it a startup or a MNC, needs these people. And as a fresher, it's easier to definitely get a job in a startup as a project manager than in a MNC, because MNCs require people who have skills. And at least from the trend I have seen, this may or may not be true, but people begin their journeys in startups, get some experience or maybe a lot of experience, because in a startup you see the good as well as bad. You see times when there's no money, or when there's a lot of money, you get funding, you get a lot of revenue. But with MNCs, you already have people who have done that. They have bought companies up from the bottom. They go to the top through these people and their experiences. People who have done that multiple times, they obviously get senior roles in MNCs. So that's kind of how the scope would be. Like, of course, nothing's going to be easy. You need to put in a lot of time and effort, but you you will always require product and project managers, just like you need developers or marketing people to make a product successful. These all together work together. Only then people get something to use. Otherwise, you either don't get the product itself, you get a bad product, or you have something that no one uses.
Right. Okay, so talking about this thing, product management. How different is it from DevOps? Because both, require strategizing and everything. So how different is it from DevOps?
So DevOps is a very different stream. DevOps would require you to think more of the deployments and how scalable your backend architecture is, how scalable your cloud architecture is. So that is a very technical role compared to a product or project role. So DevOps usually it deals with um, maybe deploying your backend on a cloud service or on a self-hosted premise, and you need to ensure that it is scalable. If you get too many users, the server should not just stop responding or be overloaded. It needs to scale up. And um, you need to ensure like your developers also have an ease. For example, most companies have a staging, a UAT, and a prod. So it's more convenient if you have CI/CD set up for deployments for all of these, so that when your important code is merged, it automatically deploys and no one has to manually do it. All that comes under DevOps. It is completely technical, and it is different from strategizing or planning how to execute something.
Okay, thank you so much. So Akshat, what is the role of a product manager in a product's life cycle, like from start to end?
So basically, a product manager is the person who usually comes up with the idea. It may or may not be. Maybe a developer also comes and tells them, like, let's try doing something. But they have to check the feasibility first. They have to understand whether they'll actually earn profits from that or not. Sometimes you don't need to earn money directly through a thing. Maybe it helps you with marketing or gaining publicity. All those together help you understand whether it's going to be useful for your company or not. Once that is done, they decide the roadmap, the features, they make the product definition documents, and they give it to the project team who executes it with developers. And then once it is completely made, they need to check everything's fine. They need to set up maybe emails, they need to set up messages, they need to set up campaigns on Google Ads or YouTube ads, etc. And they need to ensure people actually use the product that was made. Even then, they have to research more about what the competitors are doing at the same time, whether something works or not. You need to also keep a threshold criteria. If I don't get these many users by this time on this thing, maybe this is not the right metric. We need to make another thing. Maybe we don't need this feature itself. Maybe we need to do something else. So this is the role of a product manager throughout the life cycle of the product, the ideation till the execution.
Okay, so as a follow-up, I would like to ask, how do you deem a product to be a successful one? Like, what are the metrics you look at? What are the things you look at? And then you can say, this product it's done. It's successful now.
Again, that's a very subjective question. Success is different for different people.
Right.
Maybe a CEO may have different metrics. Maybe a um, developer may have different metrics of a success. For a developer, it may be as small as the product working without bugs. For a CEO, it's going to be something like maybe it again depends on the person, but maybe 1 million worth of revenue per month, maybe 1 million worth of revenue per year. It varies. So success is what the stakeholders decide for themselves. Maybe for them, even if they don't even earn money, if they get enough marketing, publicity, and fame, that is also success to some people.
Right.
So it always varies.
Oh,
And even when it's different domains, like for legal tech it'll be something else, for maybe media streaming company is going to be different. So it's going to vary based on that. For you can't get the same number of users for each thing. Maybe it's a very small high value product, even in our company. So when you deal with patents are very expensive. So if you get maybe say x number of patent orders, and it's much lesser than say trademark orders, it is still going to be more profitable. So putting a number and quantifying it may or may not make sense in different domains.
oh, thank you so much. So, could you tell us if there's a difference between the role of a product manager in a startup compared to a product manager in an MNC? And if there is, what would that be?
Interesting and a good question. So to be honest, it depends on the startup, but usually there isn't much difference in a startup if it is of a very small scale or if it is very fast paced, because you don't have time to actually keep researching, playing around with stuff. One person does it and tries to get it done as soon as possible, because you have very limited money in a startup. So after that money is done, your company is shut down. So you need to actually work really fast. You need to work together with your team, get a POC out, pitch it to investors or start generating revenue so that your company can, you know, exist even after say X months or so. But
Right.
in MNCs, you don't have that. You're already earning a lot of money. You can try making new products. You can come up with new features in those same products as well. There's no pressure. And because of that pressure of the crunch, I've noticed in companies and especially startups, uh, that line between product and project management is kind of wiped away. As your product becomes more stable, they slowly start introducing these things. But it is very rare that a very new startup has both of these separate. And if usually, even if they do have both of them separate, they do not work out because they invest too much time when they don't have enough money to invest. So that's how I've noticed it working till now. It may be different. There may be companies which have been pulling it off wonderfully even as a startup, but it's an exception, I would say.
Oh, thank you so much. So basically, it's like in an MNC, you can take more risk compared to, startup because there's lesser pressure, right?
I wouldn't say that. Like startups take a lot of risk. If
Okay.
in startups actually you can take more risk, because even if something goes wrong, there's not a lot of people who are going to be affected by it. In an
Okay.
MNC, if something goes wrong, say I don't know if you know, but a few years, maybe 1 or 2 years back, Google's login stopped working. So people were not able to use YouTube, people were not able to use Google search properly, people were not able to sign in using Google on any of the platforms, be it Coursera. Actually, I was a student in VIT back then, and I had my campus recruitment exam on HackerEarth. I was not able to do a Google sign in because Google's auth was not working and our test was postponed. Anything you try with the MNC, a lot of people are going to be affected. With startups, you have the leeway to try something new as long as you also have the budget and time. You need to plan accordingly. Maybe you set the success as a smaller ratio. But regarding risks, I would say startups have more leeway. They can try something new and they can try a lot of new things together without affecting a lot of people. But if it works out, you start affecting a lot of people, which is the success.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so we have a question from the audience. How can one get started with project management journey, and also how to gain experience in the beginning of your career as a project manager? Because like a lot of times companies prefer people with who already have experience. Like how you even set for certifications, you need 3 years of experience beforehand itself.
Hmm. So, starting a project management journey, you of course need to have developer experience for a technical project management journey. You need to be good with knowing the stacks and how things work, what is needed, what isn't, what is cheaper, what works faster, and make an informed decision. You will
Okay.
help your team decide the stack. If you're making an app, you need to know what languages you're going to be choosing for the front end, for back end, and for the app itself. So if someone just comes and tells you let's use say PHP or .NET, those are old technologies. They're still good, but you have new multi-threaded upcoming um, backend languages like Golang. You have server-side rendered front-end technologies like Next.js. Why would you stay limited to something that is old and outdated? So you need to move with the trends and know what is ideal, but you also need to know which role is easy to find. Because when you're managing a project, you have to hire a team, right? And hiring the team, of course, the HR will help you. But if there are not enough people in that domain, it's going to be very difficult for you to start the project itself. You won't find enough developers to help you with that. So you need to be very mindful of all of that. But once you know your stuff, you can maybe start. It depends again if you're in a startup or MNC. In startups, usually, like, since there's a thin line, that also becomes a good thing for you. Even if you're a developer, say you start as a SDE1, you become a SDE2, and with time, even as SDE2, you'll be leading a bunch of people, right? Slowly, if it's a startup, you can easily talk to the founders, co-founders, or anyone who's approachable. Tell them that you also want to try this. Startups give you the opportunity to grow. You can try different stuff there, and they're open to it, because as long as you complete what's your main task, it's okay to also try other stuff. With
Right.
MNC, it's a little harder to do that, but still, it depends on the company. You still have opportunities to um, talk to people and ask them for small tasks. As a fresher, it doesn't even have to be a paid thing. You can start with the. I mean, I usually would not recommend an unpaid gig. Preferably, try to get a paid gig. But worst case, at least for 1 month, if you want to just get into it and experience it, tell them you'll work for free. They'll give you an opportunity, see if you like it, then you can think of looking at the same thing in other places. Because once you know that you like it, you can put in more time. If you don't know whether you like it or not because you've not tried it, it's a big gamble.
Right.
So you can talk to people, you can network with them, you can connect with other project managers, you can approach startup founders and ask them if they need help managing their product. So the after a bit of networking, you will find someone who's ready to give you a shot. As a fresher, getting it is really hard. You need to be a good developer, or you need to have worked in a good company before for them to actually know your word. You need to be good at talking, otherwise they may not be interested, or they'll still be skeptical in giving you a role.
Right.
And you need to research more about the companies you're actually going to be applying to. If it's a legal tech company, research about that, learn what everything is, learn what the company is currently doing, see their stack. There are different apps, there's Vapalizer and other stuff which helps you see the stack of a website. So see the stack, tell them, like, I know I've worked with people who have used these stacks, and since you're using the same stack, I will be of um, good help to you. So that's kind of how you can start getting into project management: networking, talking to people, telling them why you'll be a good fit, maybe sending emails, sending PPTs of how you can add to the team, and hopefully that works out for you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you so much, Akshat. That was very, very insightful. Before we end, do you have anything else you want to say to the audience?
So I if any of you have any doubts after this session, or you still want to understand more, maybe you have interesting ideas you want to work upon, I'll just present my screen real quick with my LinkedIn. So you can connect with me here. It's linkedin.com/in/AkshatVG, and I'll be happy to stay in touch and help clarify any doubts. If we come again to VIT in the future as well, we would love to interview a few of you. We usually come with wildcard applications. If you work in a domain, it doesn't even have to be product or project management. Maybe you have something else in mind. At least with Trademarkia, we have been coming with an open-ended domain. where you can reach out to us and we interview you for the same. And if it's a good fit, we add you. That's how we started recruiting for marketing in VIT. We didn't do that before. So we'll try to make it beneficial to both. And of course, I guess with that, I am done with everything from my end. Thanks, Amlan.
Thank you so much, Akshat. That was a very fun and interactive session and very, very insightful. We busted a lot of myths about product and project management. Thank you so much, Akshat. So it was a
Thank you.
pleasure
Thanks for having me.